Welcome. My name is Paige Levin. I am the District Counselor for College and Career Readiness. We're glad to have you here tonight, plus our representatives from the UC system, the CSU system, and the Financial Aid Office over at COS. So we have a lot of great information for you tonight. I'd like to do a few housekeeping items before we get started. If you have questions this evening, please go down to the Q&A feature and type the questions in the Q&A. We have representatives from each of the schools that will help answer those questions as we go along. Also, if you'd like to check out our website, this is the website address in front of you right now. You can either take a screenshot or a picture of that and then later on visit it. You will definitely want this website. At the end of this evening, I will give you a tour of it really quick. It has everything that you could want to know about applying to college, scholarships, financial aid, the whole process, plus a calendar to follow your child's senior year. So welcome. I'm glad you're here this evening. We're going to go ahead and start out with UC Merced tonight, followed by Fresno State, then Financial Aid Office. At the end, I'll cover the common application, which we use for private colleges, and other application tips. So you're going to get a lot of great information this evening. We are recording this event. I will post it to our website. Again, I'll give you a tour of that website at the end of the evening. But with us recording it, you'll be able to access this information all summer, all fall, and be able to kind of rely on knowing that that information is there for you. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and introduce Elizabeth Lopez. She is from UC Merced. Oh, I apologize. Let me take a step back before I go a step forward. Just a quick note. Every student by Visalia Unified, grades 7 through 12, has a California Colleges account. California Colleges .edu is basically a place where that they can go to explore colleges and careers. It also allows that in their senior year, when they're applying to the CSU system, if you launch your applications, the UC, the CSU for financial aid through California colleges, it will basically take your child's transcript from Visalia Unified and load it up into their application for the CSU system. So rather than having to type their English class and grade, their math class and the grade, it automatically transfers it for them. So we really want to encourage students to use their californiacolleges.edu account. When I give you a tour of our website later on at the end of the evening, I will show you where to find information on californiacolleges.edu. But I just really want to emphasize to access that, especially with the UC system. If you start the application outside California colleges, we're not able to link that together later on. So we definitely want you to start out with californiacolleges.edu. Okay, with that, now I will introduce Elizabeth Lopez from the UC system. Elizabeth, welcome and thank you for being here tonight.
Hello, Paige. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. I'll give you the screen and it's all yours.
Thank you. Sorry, bear with me 1 second.
Not a problem. Take your time. I know how it is.
Like that button's not coming up.
The slideshow?
Yeah, just 1 second.
Looks like it was hidden there.
Yeah, it was. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Thank you. Again, my name is Elizabeth Lopez. I'm the UC Merced admissions advisor for the Central Valley. So I pretty much represent UC Merced throughout the Fresno area, all the way down to Bakersfield. And so I'm happy to be here. Today I'll be presenting about the UC application, but most of the questions that I can actually answer about the UC system actually pertain to UC Merced, but I will be covering the application portion of it. So what to expect when your student starts to fill out the UC application. So starting off, we do have 9 UC undergraduate campuses. Here you can get a glimpse of which ones they are. Starting off with UC Davis all the way down to UC San Diego. So when your student is completing the UC application, they'll be able to go ahead and select the campuses that they are interested in. Each campus does have a cost of $70. If a student is out of state, then it would be $80 per application. Per campus, since it's only one application. And so that's where here is where the students would go ahead and select. Most students may have the option to go ahead and be eligible for the fee waiver, which means that the student would then be eligible for 4 UC campuses for free without having to pay that $70 fee. But the student won't know until they put in the parent information, which includes the income and the family size of the family. And so that's going to be, I'll show you where that is in the application, but be on the lookout that some of your students may be eligible for the UC application fee waiver. So an important timeline, just to keep you in the loop, our application opens up August 1st, and it continues to be open until November 30th. Students cannot start submitting their application until November 1st, and they have until November 30th to submit the application. Anywhere from February all the way to March is when students will typically be notified of their admissions decisions to the UCs that they have applied to. And May 1st is typically the deadline to let us know if they've decided to go with our university. So that is going to be an important deadline as well. Any students that were waitlisted between May and June will be notified if they've been removed off the waitlist and been provided in admissions to the UC that they were waitlisted for. In order for your students to be prepared for the UC application, we would suggest that they start considering majors and campuses as of now, since they are juniors, so that when senior year comes around, it's a little bit less stressful. We do ask that they have an unofficial copy of their transcript just to make it easy to go ahead and identify the courses that they've taken. But as Paige mentioned, if they launch their application through California Community Colleges, California colleges, then their information will get transitioned into the application, so that they don't have to worry about that part. Students do have to write personal insight questions, so those are going to be questions that reflect upon themselves. And then we do suggest that they have an outline of all the activities, awards, and volunteer work experience that they have had, so that they can let us know what they've been involved in. It is super important that students only report accurate information and uphold integrity. So that means that we don't want students to lie about any of the information that they're providing us to, whether that is their academic history, their awards, their activity, their work experience, their personal insight questions. We just want them to be authentic and provide us information based on who they are and what they come from and what kind of experiences they share with us. The requirements for students to apply to our University California system is that they complete their A through G courses with a C or better, and their GPA must be a 3.0 and above. So those are going to be two of the main academic requirements that we do require students to have in order to apply to the UC system. In terms of how we review our students, it is a comprehensive review. Although we are one UC, every UC does review their own applicants individually, but we do base it all off the same criteria, which does include the academic achievement, which is going to be your A through Gs, your GPA, personal and school context, special talents that students share with us on their application, life challenges as well that they may share, and special circumstances that students may have gone through throughout high school. So we do take those things into consideration as well. And of course, when creating their account, they do need to use their personal email and then create it with a password that that meets the criteria in order to go ahead and proceed forward. But again, like I mentioned, they might be able to avoid this section if they are launching through California colleges. So when students are creating their account, of course, they'll be applying for the fall of 2022. So this one's just a little bit of an old screenshot, but they are going to be considered freshmen. Even if your freshman has taken college courses, at that point when they are applying, they are still considered freshmen. So they are currently in high school and they will be applying for freshman year in college. Navigating the application, I do want to preface that some of your students may begin to ask you some questions that you don't always, of information that you don't always share with your students, but we do want to kind of prepare you for those moments. Students will start to ask you questions like, how much do you make a year? How big is our family? What is your education background? So those are questions we do ask our students in the application. So just be prepared for that. Citizenship as well. demographics. And so there is really a personal section, and that will be the first section of the application. The second section will be the campus and majors, academic history, test scores, activities and awards, scholarship and programs, and their personal insight questions. And very lastly, they will be able to submit their application once they've gone through all those sections. Here you can just see the idea of what the application would look like once your student is completing it. Again, legal full name. I know that sometimes some students will have two first names, two last names. So just make sure that they know exactly how their full legal name is so that they can go ahead and report that on the application. Again, citizenship information will be asked to the student as well. Personal household information. So this is where we begin to ask students if they only live with one parent, two parents, or just legal guardians or other. And this is the section where I was mentioning that your student will be asked about your income, as well as how many people are supported by that income. These are the two numbers that will determine if your student is eligible for the fee waiver, which will land them the ability to apply to the UC campus, the UC system, and be able to get for free without having to pay for 4 UC campuses. So be on the lookout for this section so that your students, if they do qualify, that is noted. Campus and majors, like I mentioned, it's never too early to start looking into what campuses they might want to apply to, as well as what majors they may want to study. And so there's plenty of them, depending on what campus they want to go to. And so I would suggest that they start looking through that. So when this time comes around, they are not overwhelmed by the amount of majors that are offered to the student when they are submitting their application. At some campuses, students are actually able to declare a major and an alternative major as well, which means that the student gets to let us know that they are interested in developmental biology, but they're also interested in human biology. So that means they have a first choice and a second choice of majors. And truly, this all it means is that the university can accept the student to either major if they are allowed to. When students are completing the application, they also have the ability to report 7th and 8th grade courses that are related to mathematics and language other than English. So if one of your students started taking Spanish in the 7th and 8th grade, they have the ability to go ahead and report those courses, and they will be counted towards their A through G completion of courses. So that's really convenient for students who get a head start in math and in language other than English in middle school. Students will be asked what high school they attended. They'll go ahead and search it up, make sure that they're selecting the correct high school. A lot of high schools have very similar names, but they're located in different cities. And the reason why we kind of have pre-populated high schools is because we already have pre-populated courses, so that when they are reporting their courses, it's a little bit easier for students to find. They'll be asked if they're in any specialized curriculum. When did they start high school? What kind of grading system are they in? Is their school based on a full year, semester, trimester, quarter, and so on? Students will then be asked what kind of courses they took. Again, they are only to report A through G courses, which typically consist of history courses, English courses, mathematics courses, science courses, arts, and visual performing arts, and college electives. And so here you can see that they'll be asked, well, what kind of grade did you get for grade 1 and grade 2, which for this case, this would be a semester system. What did they get for semester 1 and what did they get for semester 2? Students will also have the opportunity to report any college courses that they took. We do want to give them the credit that they deserve for taking college courses, especially if they're transferable courses to our college system. And so they have the ability as well to go ahead and report those college courses within their application. For the most part, our University of California is no longer receiving or requiring that students submit SAT and ACT test scores for admission purposes. So students don't have to have that pressure of feeling like they need to take a test and score a certain score in order to be able to be eligible for admissions, or at least get admitted into our university. So that is no longer a requirement. Activities and awards, again, if your students start now in terms of listing all their activities and awards, by the time this rolls around, this should be simple and easy for them to go ahead and list. It'll ask them what kind of level of recognition. For this specific one, it's asking about an award, but students can go ahead and mention clubs and organizations they were a part of, nonprofits, volunteer experiences, community service, and some other college courses other courses that aren't A through G that they do want to report to us can be listed within this activities and awards section. Towards the end of our application, we also have a section where students can apply and be eligible for scholarships. And so the unique part about this is that students will go ahead and select the ones that are in connection to them. And so in this case, if a student is interested in education, they would go ahead and select education. And if the UC has scholarships for students who are interested in education, they would be awarded a scholarship solely based on the fact that they selected this during the scholarship section. As I mentioned, we do want to learn about your students, and so there are questions that students do have to answer, and we do ask 8 questions. They are only required to answer 4. Each question response is only gives them a limit of 350 words. Again, all questions are valuable. They have equal value, and there's no disadvantage or advantage of choosing one over another. This is what the questions look like. Excuse me. Again, it tells them right here, only respond to 4 out of the 8. You have 250 to 350 words. They can email themselves some questions just to have the template of what they look like, but students would simply select answer and then go ahead and put their response. As students review and submit their application, here you can see that they have little check marks where students will be notified, hey, you've completed this section, you can move on forward. In this instance, in this example, this student hasn't finished the academic history, so it's letting the student know that they need to go back and complete that section. But other than that, once they do have all their sections completed, they can go ahead and move forward to submitting. As I mentioned, the application is $70 per campus. So here you can see that the student has applied to 4. Their subtotal is 280, but they are eligible for the waiver, so that is being reduced, and that total for them is $0. All the student has to do if they are eligible for the fee waiver is just go ahead and accept the fee waiver, which says, would you like to accept this fee waiver? They would then go ahead and review and then submit. Once they submit, they'll go ahead and get a confirmation ID. They'll get the date that they submitted and how they paid for it, whether that is a credit card or it was waived or whatever that may be. They also get an email confirmation as well. If a student needs to update any information that was reported on the application, they may, but only certain sections will allow them to update. Other than that, anything else that needs to be updated would be done per campus. So for this student who applied to Berkeley and Davis, if they needed to review, update any other information that's not eligible to update on here, they would have to call that campus. We also have our application center. So that means that once your student does begin applying, we do have like late hours available for them. So if they're working on their application pretty late, which they shouldn't be, but they are going to, we are going to be open. As you can see here, this past fall, we were open until 10 p.m., 11 p.m. And as it got closer to the deadline, we were actually open until midnight. So we do definitely want to make sure that your students' questions are being answered. And of course, if you have questions as well, you can also call with them. And with that being said, I leave you with my contact information. I'm the admissions advisor for the University of California, Merced throughout the Central Valley. And we encourage you to follow us on our social media platforms where we post about our campus and any updates we should update you on.
Elizabeth, that was great. Thank you so much. We do have a few questions that I wasn't able to answer that I want to get directly from you. Couple of parents are asking about the SAT. If you're not requiring students to take the SAT right now, but they go ahead and they take it, will you be looking at the scores and will that give them additional points for admission?
Yeah, so there's definitely no additional points for taking the SAT or a test score. We don't go based off on a point system, sorry. And taking the test or the SAT or ACT should only be taken if a student is doing it to fulfill like an A through G requirement. So let's say a student is missing a 4th year of language arts, and that student is using the AP exam or the test or the SAT or ACT to fulfill that 4th year of requirement. In that case, we would be looking at it because the student has reported it in order for that 4th year to be fulfilled. And that would be for other subject areas as well. That was just my example. But other than that, test scores are not being looked at if the student fulfills the minimum requirement of GPA and A through G.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Any big concern. Also right now, Elizabeth, we're not offering, locally, it's hard to find a testing location for the SATs. And so I think parents are kind of panicked. Do
Yeah.
they need to go somewhere else in the state and take the SATs, or are they okay just not taking them?
Yeah, you're okay not taking them. I would not stress yourself over having to drive your student a couple hours, down to another city just to be able to take the SAT or ACT. You can be rest assured that our University of California website states that we will not be requiring test scores for admission purposes. So if you can avoid the stress of having to put yourself through that and your child through it, I mean, we're letting you know that it's not required.
Okay, so I have a parent asking, in other words, are you going to accept a student with a score rather than a student that has no score submitted? I think is the fear.
We're not comparing student by test score to test score. We're accepting students if they meet the GPA requirement and the A through G requirement, excuse me.
Okay. Another parent question, it says, I heard that grades influenced by COVID are being looked over. Is that true? And if yes, then what semester's grading periods? So are they giving them some grace? For example, Visalia Unified went to online schooling March of 2020, and we've just returned in the last month to the high schools. So some of our students struggled with the online courses, and so we did award grades, not pass, no pass. So I think there are people concerned how that might influence the outcome of getting into a UC.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Paige. So I believe what they're concerned about is if we'll accept a class that received a credit or a pass grade instead of a C, B, or an A. And you can be rest assured that UC Merced and most of the other UCs as well are accepting those grades from the high schools. So we do acknowledge that COVID did affect the grading systems at a lot of high schools. And so we are accepting those pass and credit grade courses for the spring, winter, and summer of 2020. And now we've additionally added the fall. And I believe that we're adding the spring as well of 2021 in terms of those grade changes that have happened for a lot of high schools in terms of accepting those grades. And so as long as the student got a pass or a credit for those A through G courses, they will not be negatively affected in terms of the way we look at their high school courses. We will be accepting them.
Now, the thing that surprised me this last year, because I had a senior in our household, you had a record number, the UCs had a record number of applicants this year, even with the COVID pandemic.
We did, yeah, we were pretty surprised. We were expecting numbers to actually be lower than the years before, and we actually had a lot more students apply. And maybe students felt more assured of themselves without us having that SAT, ACT test requirement. That could have probably been a factor in the students that did apply.
Okay, so I have another question from a parent, again, going back to the SATs. She asked, but would you compare the students to one another's applications who have submitted SATs? So if we have a student that doesn't have an application, SAT, and we have one that has SAT, are you comparing them?
We never compare students. So when we present to high schools and to students, we always let them know that it is solely the student we're looking at, and we're not looking to see if this student has something that the other student doesn't have. So as I mentioned in my application, it is a comprehensive review. So we're looking at their academics, but we're also looking at their other contexts, whether that involves the student being involved on campus or off campus. The students' PIQs, which are the personal insight questions, what kind of information are they sharing with us? Did they go through some family trauma, through life-changing circumstances throughout their junior year or throughout high school in general? So it's very, very comprehensive. So in that case, we cannot compare student to student because it's solely based on the student I'm looking at right now on my screen. And that's how we do it.
And so another parent's asking, and I can answer it, but I want you to reassure us.
Yeah.
So basically, this methodology applies to all UCs. The UCs are going to take the same take on the SATs as we're discussing right now.
Yeah, all the UCs, yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. A parent says, I have a junior who went to Exeter as a sophomore and was wondering if that applies to other high schools too. I'm I'm a little confused. I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too. I tried to read the question before you read it yourself too.
Okay, so I think on this question is whether it's Visalia Unified Schools or Exeter or Fresno Unified, you're going to look at the grades and take that into consideration with the whole COVID pandemic.
Yeah, so I think it said for COVID grades. So yes, if your student got a pass or a credit, it doesn't matter what high school they went to. We acknowledge that high schools across the nation have changed their grading system due to COVID. So if I'm answering this correctly and I'm interpreting this question correctly, we are accepting grades, pass or credit from any high school that a student is coming from.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more question. And I think I know the answer, but I want you to answer this. Then why do they say test optional for the UCs? Why not say test blind? Is that because you're using the SAT scores for academic placement for their math and English?
Yeah, no, we're not using the SATs and ACTs for placement exams because the UCs actually have their own placement exams. Like right now, our admitted students are having to take placement exams such as math, chemistry, and computer science. And so that's through the UC like itself. So UC Merced has its own once the student has been admitted in order to place them into courses. But other than that, we're not using the other test scores. I guess this question would be more for the directors and the more so for the directors. So I guess I can't answer why the reading says test optional versus test free. But for UC Merced specifically, we are test free. But since we're, one UC, but then 9 campuses, it's test optional. So it kind of just, it goes back to me not being the director and having a say on that part.
Fair enough. Okay, let's see, I see one more question pop up. What is the impact of the social equity changes upon UC admissions? Will a student from LA low income who has worked for their family receive more points or higher scores versus a financially independent student?
Sorry, I'm reading the question myself too.
Yeah, so in other words, if someone has had maybe some things that have worked against them in their lives in terms of academics or finances, do they get additional points than say versus a student whose parents economically were doing well and the student didn't have maybe outside issues in terms of success or hardships?
Yeah, so if I'm interpreting this question correctly, because this is more like a technical question in terms of like admissions and how we're looking at students.
Yes.
There is no category for like us comparing a student with lower income versus higher income. But we definitely do want to give students, I guess, the consideration if they're explaining that they have been through a hardship that affected their high school performance. I think that's what we do look for in terms of context when a student lets us know why they performed really badly their freshman year and then they picked it up their sophomore year. We want to give them the opportunity to go ahead and let us know, hey, it's because I worked a part-time job or a full-time job while I was going to high school to be able to help support my family. But other than that, I wouldn't say that one has an advantage or a disadvantage over being a low income from LA versus a student who's independent. Because also the independent student has probably gone through things to be able to be independent. And so if that student gets the opportunity to explain that in their personal insight questions, that's why we really preface that being very insightful and providing context in the personal insight questions is super important for students to let us know what they've gone through throughout those 4 years of high school that either positively or negatively affected them.
Sounds fair. Yeah. All right, so Elizabeth, thank you so much for being with us this evening and all the great information. Is there any final words that you'd like to share with our students and their parents?
I definitely want to preface that this contact information is actually my direct contact info. So it's my cell phone. It's a work cell phone. So you can text me or call me, whichever is easier for you. I plan to be with UC Merced for the fall. So when your student starts to apply and you do have questions about the UC application, I definitely recommend that you contact me.
Thank you very much for being here tonight. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Paige.
All right, so our next presenter will be Wendy Lee from Fresno State, and she's going to cover the CSU application. And Wendy, thank you for being here this evening. I'm going to go ahead and give you the screen, and it's all yours.
All righty, thank you so much, Paige, for having myself here. Along with me, I do have my colleague, Martine Alvarado. Martine, are you there?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Martine, for being here with us today for the junior parent night. Again, my name is Wendy Lee. I am one of the recruitment counselor here at Fresno State Admissions and Recruitment Office. I do work closely with all the high school students, along with overseeing the Student Ambassador Program with Martine. I am going to be talking, presenting on behalf of Fresno State. And some of the information that I will be presenting will only be pertaining to Fresno State. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my video, so that for those who only have one device or a mobile device, you can go ahead and focus on the presentation. Let me go ahead and turn off my video. Perfect. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with a little bit of statistics about Fresno State. We do have a number of a little bit over 21,000 undergraduate students who are coming right after high school as a first-time freshman to Fresno State. And we also have students who are coming from a community college. So let's just say your son or daughter plan to go to COS for the first 2 years and transfer to Fresno State. We do, they are considered as undergraduate students as transfer students. About 65% of our students are first generation students, just like Martine and myself. We do provide special programs such as the Educational Opportunity Program, camp, and other services for our first generation student as well. We do have 70 bachelor's degree, 44 master's degree, and 3 doctoral programs here at Fresno State within our 8 academic colleges. A little bit more about the campus. 60% of our students are female and 40% of our students are male. We have 88% of our students who are our local students. So students who are coming from our local area, such as the Visalia area, Fresno County, north of Fresno, such as Madera. We have coming from Los Baños, and then 12% of our students are our non-local students. Okay, so these are the most popular majors here at Fresno State. The first one is the pre-business program. Secondly is our biology program that falls under the College of Science and Mathematics. And pre-nursing, pre-health, specifically nursing, kinesiology and exercise science, health science and community health, and social work. And the fourth one is undeclared. So just like myself, I came to Fresno State as an undeclared student, and after a year and a half, I declared in sociology. So here at Fresno State, we do allow students to come in as an undeclared major student, and we will provide the student with the resource to help your student declare the major that best fits their interests. We also have the 5th most popular major, such as criminology and law enforcement. These are the most popular majors, but again, keep in mind, we do have 70 majors here at Fresno State for your students to explore. Fresno State do have multiple notable rankings. We are all proud of all of our notable rankings, but I do want to talk a little bit about our Washington Monthly Magazine. We were one of the only CSU on Washington Monthly Magazine due to our social mobility and our services that we do provide for our students. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about some spotlight here at Fresno State. We are planning to have our new student union open in fall 2022. Hopefully our office will fall right into that new student union. We do have the Bulldog Express where we will be transporting students from campus and off campus to the nearby apartments. We also have the V line, the V line available for our students too. So this is a transportation from for our students who are in the Visalia area that they will transport your student to Fresno State and back and forth. We have the Save More Center where we host our events, our concerts, and our graduation ceremony as well. That is also where Martin and I, we both graduated from. And then we do have our Barking Bulldogs qualify for nationals here at Fresno State. Okay, so as I mentioned, we have 8 academic colleges. And within the 8 academic colleges, we do have 70 majors for your students to explore. After going to Fresno State and retrieving their bachelor's degree, they do have the option to get their master's or doctoral program at Fresno State. Martine, if you can do me a favor by providing our catalog website in the Q&A future, that will be great. What Martine will be providing for you is the website that you can navigate and see all of the different majors that we do offer for our students. Here at Fresno State, we don't only offer majors, but we also offer minors. We also offer credentials for your students, and your students are able to get certificates as well while they're completing their bachelor degree at Fresno State. I do want to talk a little bit about the student life that we have here at Fresno State. We have over 300 clubs and organizations, and even through COVID, our clubs and organization have been connecting with their student via Zoom. We do hope that we will be able to have some clubs and organization come for the upcoming year. We do have 40 fraternities and sororities programs here at Fresno State as well. And every year when we have our vintage days, it does attract 50,000 visitors each year. And these are in our community, along with our students, staff, faculty that do join Vintage Day every year. This year, Vintage Days will be virtual, and definitely hope that you will be able to join Vintage Days. Alrighty, so these are the 20 sports that we have for our students, both men and women. These are the athletic teams for the NCAA division. You can definitely visit our website for more information when it comes to athletics. We do have some students who are interested in being a part of the athletics team here at Fresno State. I highly recommend your student to, after they submit the application to Fresno State, reach out to the coach directly to get it connected with their athletics team. I want to talk a little bit about financial aid and scholarship. I know that David Amaston will be talking a little bit, will be talking heavily about it, but I do want to talk a little bit about it on behalf of Fresno State. Every year, we do award our students with financial aid and or scholarship up to 70% of our students. We do have about $3.8 million available for our students when it comes to our scholarships. It is a one scholarship application that will be applied to all of the scholarships. So depending on your qualification, the donor will go ahead and contact you for more information. I do want to go ahead and give you a breakdown. You want to focus on the fees and totals here, and this is for yearly. When it comes to books, supplies, room, transportation, and personnel, that will vary from student to student, but the fee and tuitions here at Fresno State will be, for a year, will be roughly around $6,600. Alrighty, so I want to talk a little bit about the fall 22 CSU requirements. We do require our students to have a passing 15-unit comprehensive A through G pattern of college preparatory courses. And they do need to pass those courses with a C- or higher. These courses are our 4 years of English, your 3 years of math, your 2 years of history, 2 years of foreign language, 1 year of visual performing arts, 1 year of college preparatory elective. We do require our students to have their high school diploma or equivalent. For fall 22, we will be admitting any students who fall between, any students who have a 2.5 GPA minimum or higher. And of course, they do need to meet the A through G requirement as well. For our non-California students, that will be a 3.0, which I won't be talking about it heavily for this presentation. And SAT and ACT is temporarily suspended for the use for admissions eligibility for all CSU campuses for fall 2022. And so just like Elizabeth emphasized earlier, SAT and ACT is not a requirement, and we will not be looking at your SAT and ACT when it comes to admission. So Elizabeth definitely did answer that question very well. I'm not sure if she's still here, but she definitely did help answer that question for the CSU behalf too. SAT and ACT will not be used in calculation of eligibility index. We are now looking at the student's GPA to make the decision whether they will be admitted to Fresno State or not. And SAT and ACT can be submitted for the, English and math placement for their first year. So I remember there was a question earlier asking if we will be using the SAT and ACT to place them in their English and math first year college course. We may be using it for our fall 2022 students. Any students who fall between a 2.0 to a 2.49 will require, we will look at their supplemental factors, such as any additional A through G courses that they took. Now, we do still encourage students who fall between a 2.0 through a 2.49 to apply to Fresno State. Even if they don't meet the A through G requirement, or even if they don't meet the GPA requirement. We do have programs like EOP, the Educational Opportunity Program, that helps our students who are first generation student and or low income student to transition from high school to college. These programs will give students a special admits into the university, even if you don't meet the requirement. For more information on how fall 22 requirements are, definitely feel free to visit our Cal State website. And then Martina, I'm just going to ask you if you can provide our Cal State website for the parents and students that are here with us tonight in the Q&A future. That way, students and parents, you will be able to read a little bit more about what are we accepting, what kind of grades are the CSUs accepting, and so forth. Again, Martina, I do apologize. There was, at the beginning, I should have mentioned this, but if you can go ahead and submit any questions that you do have in the Q&A, that way it will be easier for Martina to help answer your question. That would be great. Again, if you can submit your question in the Q&A, that would be great. Thank you, Martin, for helping me with the questions. I do want to talk a little bit about the COVID impacts here at Fresno State when it comes to this slide. We do require daily screening for anyone that's coming to Fresno State prior to being on campus. So every day, whether you are a student, faculty, staff, or a community member, we do require daily screening before entry to the campus. We do have voluntary COVID testing at no charge for students, faculty, and staff here at Fresno State too. At the moment, we don't have any vaccine available at Fresno State, but there are locations that are giving the vaccine for free. We highly recommend that students do get the COVID vaccine, although it's not requirement here at Fresno State. I know that there are some questions about housing at Fresno State, if we are going to allow students to live in the dorms, and if so, how many students? We're not too sure at this moment, but the housing office did mention that they will make the room arrangement in July. So we're hoping that by that time, we will be able to have that information available for students and parents. For fall 2020, we will be hybrid. We will be hybrid. We're not too sure what is the capacity level on how many students, faculty, or staff that we're allowing on campus, but very similar to this year, such as our biology labs and other courses that cannot be virtual, that it will be in person. So we will be on hybrid mode for fall 2022. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Cal State Apply, the application for fall 2022. These are the following items that we will need your student to have with them when they are applying to Fresno State. It really depends on your student to see if your student will take about 30 minutes to apply to the application. Maybe it'll be an hour and a half, maybe 2. It really depends on the student. And it depends on what are some of the information that they have with them. One of the most important information that students tend to forget is your parents' annual income. So it'll be parents, your annual income. We will be needing that information to make that decision if they do qualify for the application fee waiver, or if they don't qualify for the application fee waiver. And once they are qualified for the application fee waiver, they are qualified to apply to 4 CSUs for free. Anything after that will be $70. Okay, so right before you can start your application through Cal State Apply, you do need to create your Cal State Apply account. When it comes to creating your account, you definitely want to make sure that you use your personal email. A lot of times our students do use their school email, and sometimes school emails do block outside emails like Fresno State. And so we do have most of our communication are coming by email. Therefore, I do highly recommend students to have their personal email address when they're creating their account. Parents, I highly recommend you to encourage your students to check their email regularly. Definitely, especially during the pandemic, the majority of the way that we are connecting with your student is via email. I highly recommend students to check their email at least twice a week, if anything, every day. that would be definitely something that I highly recommend for students to do as well. Right now, the application is not open for fall 2022. So the application will be available starting October 1st. If you were to go in right now, you won't even be able to create your account just yet. You do have to wait until October 1st in order to create your account and complete your application. Okay, one of the most common mistakes is creating a password and remembering the password. And so something that I normally like to advise my student is they're very comfortable using notes on their cell phone. And so if you want to go ahead and put down your password or your username on your cell phone, that works too, but definitely recommend you to put it on a piece of paper, whether it's a notebook or agenda. Definitely do that. The password is something that Martha and we emphasize heavily during the application workshop because you will have to contact help desk for help when it comes to forgetting your password. And the next thing is, please have your student write down their CAS ID, which is their Cal State Apply ID number, which will be located on the top right corner of their application page. And definitely that will help admissions and Martina and myself a lot when your student have questions on their application. We are able to locate your student much better and easier with their CAS ID number. And there are 4 parts to the application: the personal information, academic history, supporting information, and program materials. For the personal information, this is where your student will be asking you for the most help. These are some of the questions that, these questions are going to be, what is your citizenship? Do you know your social security number? How much does your parents make? What was your parents' highest education level? were your parents born in California, and so forth. So a lot of personal information that will be including the parents' information. And so your student will be contacting you for additional information. But when it comes to academic history, as mentioned earlier from Paige, if your student did create their California Colleges account, then majority of their information will automatically be uploaded in academic history. Even though we are partnered with California Colleges, I do highly recommend your student to check their academic history to see if it is a reflection of their transcript. Sometimes, as much as we want California Colleges to be perfect, it is not. And so I highly recommend your student to check their academic history prior to submitting the application. Supporting information will include the EOP section, which is if your student is interested in applying to EOP, they can complete it here in the supporting information section. Your student will be asked to write about themselves, and I highly recommend your student to not only write 1 or 2 sentences, but definitely emphasize and talk a little bit more about them, why they want to come to Fresno State, and how can EOP benefit them. We will ask for 2 professional references. So that can be their teachers, that could be their counselor, their coach, maybe their employer, but it will have to be 2 employer references. And the references will not write a letter recommendation, but they will go ahead and answer a set of questions regarding your student. And so those 2 references may help your student to get into the EOP program as well. And then the program materials, it varies from majors to majors. If your student do have to complete anything in the program materials section. Some majors such as biology, we will ask what is your highest English and your highest math course in high school. But other majors, for example, like sociology, we will not be asking anything in the program materials section. We do have application support for all of our students. Application, again, is open October 1st, and this year we do plan to have it, the deadline for November 30th. However, this past year we did extend it all the way to December 15th. And so this year it's the same plan, October 1st to November 30th. We do have live chat phone calls that your student can call for additional assistance, Zoom. Every year, Martha and I, we do host application workshop at your high school. This past year, our application workshop was virtual, and that's how we were able to help your student with their application with the help of our ambassador team. However, this upcoming year, we're still waiting to see if it's going to be online application workshop or if it's going to be in-person application workshop. But your student do have an ambassador that is assigned to your school for additional help. So aside from our office application support, they do have the support of their ambassador, and they do have the support from our application workshop as well, and of course their counselors and teachers. This is the first-time freshman admission timeline, and this is how it's going to look for your student if they were to apply to Fresno State right after high school. I'm sorry, if they were to come to Fresno State right after high school, they will go ahead and they will be able to apply to Fresno State and EOP that opens on October 1st. The admissions decision will be made by April 1st, and your student do have to accept admissions and register for dog days. It says pay here, however, we're not sure how fall 2022 dog days will look like, but for this year, our seniors who are seniors right now, dog days is free for them. And they do have to attend dog days in June. All right, so this is Martina, my contact information. I highly recommend you to take a moment, take a photo of it. If you would like, you can write it down. And what I'm going to also do too is both Martha and I will go ahead and put our contact information in the chat feature so that you can contact both of us for any questions. Again, we do have ambassadors that are assigned at your school as well. And so if your student do have any questions, feel free to encourage them to seek for help, or you can definitely ask your high school counselor as well for additional information. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. And then Paige, I am available for any questions that parents do have.
Perfect.
And-
Thank you so much, Wendy. That was great information. We do have a question in the Q&A asking about EOPS. Exactly what is it? And who applies for EOP?
That's a great question. So EOP is a program known as the Educational Opportunity Program here at Fresno State. And this program is designed to help our high school students who are transitioning to college. And these the students do need to meet a specific requirement, such as they do need to have a history of financial need, and they need to be considered as a first generation student, meaning neither your parents graduated from a university with a 4-year degree. And so this program is designed to help our students, those students. And we do have academic advising available for students, tutoring services that's available for our students. From year 1 to the year that you graduate, we will have an advisor that advise your student from year 1 all the way to year 4. Some of our students also receive an additional amount of money for the first year as they're in EOP to help them with the financial need on top of their financial aid and on top of any scholarship that they do have. And so EOP do provide that additional financial aid assistance as well. And then I noticed that Martin put the website on there, and Loretta, hopefully Martin and I did help answer your question for you.
Great. One last question. A parent is asking how many students at Fresno State are awarded full ride. Can you just briefly mention the Smith Camp Honors Program and that scholarship program?
Yeah, definitely. So how many students, it varies from year to year. Every year it varies on how many scholarships they're able to hand out to our students. We do have an honors program here at Fresno State known as the Smith Camp Honors Program. And this program is designed to admit students who are this past year was a 3.8 GPA or higher. They are looking at, a 3.5 GPA or higher. I do apologize for that. And any students who are academically, who do meet the academic requirement, they can apply to the Smith Camp Honors Program. And once they're in the Smith Camp Honors Program, the student does need to take a design courses every semester that follows their plan in order to stay in the Smith Camp Honors Program. Once they're in this program as well, they are able to complete internship that the Smith Camp Honors Program do help design for our student or arrange our student to be a part of. And not only that, they do have academic advisors that help them throughout the time that they're here at Fresno State. They work very closely to the president as well, and not just the president, but definitely with the higher professionals, and definitely help them with their experience here at Fresno State to be a little bit more challenging, because those are our students who are definitely overachievers and students who do work really hard to get a good grade.
Perfect. I'm going to throw out one last question for you tonight,
Sure.
And then we'll call it at that. What support systems do you have at Fresno State for the LGBTQ population?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nathan. So we do have multiple clubs for our students. Again, like I mentioned, we have over 300 clubs and organizations available here at Fresno State. And we do have a club for our LGBTQ plus community as well. Not only that, we do have women's study courses that's available too. Myself as a student, I took women's studies courses, and my professor, we have topics, we have discussion very heavily on this topic. So I was able to be educated a little bit more about this, about the community, and was able to be involved with the community a little bit more as well. Martine, I'm not sure if you have anything else to add to that question, and I'm not sure if you want to go ahead and add anything else to the question.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Wendy. That was a great answer. I would just like to add that we do have the Cross Culture and Gender Center, which is where the the LGBTQ will be found at, and along with other communities there, we have the Hispanic, the African American. So there's few there. So I'll put the link there so you guys can look at it, go over it, and see all the resources there, because I know they have a beautiful lounge. I used to work there and I used to go there for their free coffee. I know that's for a fact because I'm a coffee lover. So I was there. And let me tell you, they do have a 75-inch TV. So that's even better to enjoy your coffee, do your homework. And that's some updates that they're doing. And they're always innovating on that particular part. So I'll put the link for you guys, and so you guys can take a look at it. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Martin. Thank you so much. And that reminds me of COS Veterans Office, David. And so, all righty. Any other questions that I can help answer for this moment?
I think we're good. I really appreciate your time and all the great information that you've given us this evening. And we'll post your information on our website. And again, thank you for your continued support.
Of course. And what Martha and I will do, we'll stay here for another 5 minutes. We will go ahead and put our contact information in the chat feature as well. And so parents and students, feel free to go ahead and contact us for any additional questions. Thank you for having the both of us.
Thanks, Wendy. Take care. Okay, so we have 2 more sections this evening. We have COS's financial aid, which will go next. And then after that, I'm going to touch on the private colleges, as well as all the things that we have to support your students through this whole application process. So hold in there with us just a little bit longer. David from COS, he's Director of Financial Aid, is going to cover financial aid. Know that this applies to all universities, not just COS. So with that, David, thank you for being here, and I'm going to go ahead and give you the screen.
Okay, all righty. Thank you, Paige, and hello, everyone. My name is David. I'm the Director of Financial Aid over at College of Sequoias, and I also have with me tonight Madison Jones, who is works in our Welcome Center and also helps out with our financial aid and our outreach. So she's here to kind of watch the questions on the chat. So as I'm talking, feel free to type in questions, and then we can either talk about them as a live question later, or she can type answers to you. Let's see if I can get the right share screen going here. Let's see. Okay, so hopefully that's got our PowerPoint up for College of Sequoias. Okay, so yeah, so like she said, College of Sequoias, we support all the high schools kind of in our district. So Tulare, Kings County, we work with the high school counselors to help the students through the senior year with the financial aid application process. It starts off right away. We come out and do workshops and help students. So you'll just be getting rolling into your student senior year, and things are happening, it's busy and all this stuff's going on. And then right off the bat, your counselors will be saying, hey, here's a parent night for financial aid, or hey, we're gonna start some workshops in October, November. And you're gonna think that seems really early, but the FAFSA starts early. So you can get everything in, and also the idea is that you can get some answers on maybe your financial aid eligibility as you're deciding what college to go to help you make that decision. So once you've, as you're applying to colleges, October 1st, the FAFSA application for your, as your students are seniors next fall, come October, the application will open up for the following school year when they would be in college. And then March 2nd is a key deadline for California. So the FAFSA is our federal, I'll talk more about that, is the application for financial aid that's actually open all through the school year. This school year right now we're in, our college students can still fill out the FAFSA and get paid financial aid for their semester. But March 2nd, which is passed for like new incoming students, that's the California deadline for Cal Grants. So we want to make sure that between October 1st and March 2nd next year that you do the application so that your students would be eligible for Cal Grants when they go to college. Once the application is done, like they've mentioned before, email is our primary way of communicating with students. So have the students have their own email, like a Gmail or Yahoo or something outside of their high school email that we can communicate with. Once they start attending that college, they'll probably have an email with that college. CSAC is the California Student Aid Commission. That's where all the Cal Grants, the California grants come from. So you'll get communications from them as well. And then there may be additional paperwork required once you apply for financial aid. So again, stay in touch with the email, communicate with those colleges. And then I'll touch a little bit about, you may be eligible for financial aid through an economic need process, but once you have financial aid, to keep it, it's very important to maintain good academic standing. So there are three, again, as you're trying to tailor this for thinking about, I've got parents here of juniors who are getting ready to become seniors, and then that next year in college, what will financial aid be like? So there are three types of financial aid that students are apply for or eligible for. The primary type, grants and scholarships. So you may hear about Cal Grant, Pell Grant, or you may have scholarships through your high school foundation, or like Fresno State had scholarships, COS has scholarships. The second type that we look at, federal work study, or like part-time jobs on campus. There's an element of that is paid through federal financial aid money. And then the last option we look at are student loans, where the student is borrowing money that they would have to pay back once they complete college. And colleges tend to award in that order. We try to give away all the free money first, and then the money that students can earn would be the second tier of money we would give, and then last we would disperse loans until we fill up the student's financial aid budget. So I talked about the FAFSA application. It stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. This is the primary application that students, when they're going to college or next year, you're going to fill out. And colleges will use this application as their primary tool for determining awards or scholarships for students, or maybe their in-house type grants or awards they may offer. And so you can kind of see, I like this, we call it my peacock slide. The green boxes represent some of the federal grants that are out there, the loans, the Pell Grants, the work study. The orange boxes represents the California grants that we have available, Cal Grants, different grants for the UC CSU system. And then even the little purple box represents what colleges may have like as an in-house award, and they may use the the FAFSA application to determine need for students. To be eligible to complete the FAFSA application, you do have to have U.S. citizenship or a residency status. So that means students are going to have a social security number or the green card or a certificate of citizenship to be eligible to complete the FAFSA application. So undocumented students who don't have this would not be eligible to receive the federal Pell Grants or loans through the federal award system. However, for students in California, if you are undocumented and you've been attending school, growing up here, going to school in California, and you have completed at least 3 years of high school and are graduating from a California high school, then you would be eligible to complete the DREAM Act application, which also is available beginning in October. It's kind of through the Student Aid Commission, what we call CSAC. So undocumented students qualify what we call the DREAM Act. They can complete that application, and then students going to college would be eligible for Cal Grants, state awards, or local institutional awards. So again, the federal grants, just kind of go through them quickly. You hear about the Pell Grant. So say at College of Sequoias, after our fee waivers, that's the biggest amount of grants. We say out of about 10,000, 17,000 student population, 10,000 students are eligible for financial aid in some way or another. About 6,500 students are getting a Pell Grant, and we disperse over probably around $25 million in Pell Grants a year to students. The current, the award for next school year will be just shy of $6,500 for the year. It goes along with filling out the FAFSA. And again, people ask me, was it worth it to fill out the FAFSA application? If we make too much money, are we going to get any financial aid? So the FAFSA is based on income, family size, number of students you have in your household going to college, and for some reason, the age of the parents. So even to qualify for student loans, you need to fill out the FAFSA application. So it's worth it to fill it out. There's so many factors involved with determining eligibility. So do that, and then like I say, you might have some Pell Grant eligibility in there. It might surprise you. And again, I talked about the work study when you do the FAFSA application. This is part-time work on campus. A lot of times the students say, what's work study? I don't know what that is, but it's basically those part-time jobs. They're great because like here at COS, the students, you get to school in the morning, the parking's crazy. You get that coveted spot because you get here early. You don't want to have to leave campus and go to work at 10 or later in the day and then try to come back for a class and find parking. So it's great. You can go to your classes, go over to one of the offices, do part-time work, get some great experience working on campus, and then go back to your classes and not having to jump back and forth from campus all day. So when your students fill out the FAFSA, when they have that question, it'll say, are you interested in work study? We always recommend to check the yes box. That way it puts them in line as they do their application. The schools usually take them first come, first serve, and they'll offer jobs that they have available. Usually there's only a limited number. So if you're saying yes, you're on the list, you might, they may contact you and ask you. And then if once you're in college and they're asking you, are you interested in work study, then it's okay to say, yes, I am, or no, I'm not at this time. And they'll move on to the next person. But if you say no, then you may miss that opportunity because you won't even be on the list. So we recommend say yes on the FAFSA application, and then you can answer that, choose later if that's going to be a good option for you. So student loans, Stafford loans, direct loans, the federal loans is what we offer or what recommend, going to college, FAFSA application loans, federal loans, which are the best place to start. There are private loans out there with banks and things like that, but through the federal loans, you're going to have, they're going to work with you on repayments, have different repayment options, good interest rates, things like that. So there's two types, subsidized and unsubsidized. Colleges will start awarding the subsidized loan amounts first and then move to unsubsidized as the student's requesting more or needing more money. So both loans, as you're going to college, do not have payments required. So you take out student loans, and as long as you're in college finishing your academic program, you do not have to make any payments. Then once you've graduated from college, sorry, it's on automatic forward. Once you've graduated from college, then after 6 months, after you graduate or you've completed education, you would get notifications to start loan payments. So with the subsidized loan, no interest is accruing on your loan while you're in school. So if you borrow $5,000, when you graduate from college, it's still a $5,000 loan. The unsubsidized loans, interest does accrue while you're in school. So if you start with a $5,000 balance, if you don't pay interest throughout the year or keep up with the interest, when you graduate, maybe you may owe $6,000 or $5,500, depending on how long the loan has sat there and how much you've borrowed. So this is the difference in those two. And Stafford loans these are students taking the loan out as a financial aid student. The loan is in their name, they graduate, it's their debt. Another option for parents is a PLUS loan. So if the student has exhausted the loan eligibility on the student loan side, parents can request fill out an application for a PLUS loan. Again, it's like the unsub loans. Interest is charged while the student's in school, but this is a loan the parent is taking out. So there is in this case, for parents, there is like a background check, and the interest rate tends to be a little higher. So if you're borrowing as a parent, you might find better rates out there, but this is an option as well. Let's see. Some students, there's lots of rumors, lots of things they hear out there about financial aid. It's always best to ask your financial aid office directly versus maybe trust something you see on Facebook or in social media. But students do not need to be full-time to be eligible for financial aid. So in the financial aid world, full-time is taking 12 or more units. And but if a student happens to be, especially in the community college situation, if a student's working or going to community college part-time, if they're taking 6 units, 9 units, a smaller load, then we just prorate that either 50%, 75%, or 100% of that full-time load. So students can still receive some financial aid that helps with the cost of books and going to school, but then maybe if they're in a situation where they're having to go part-time, they're not excluded from receiving financial aid. Cal Grant, so we're starting with the stuff that's available at the state level now. So if you fill out a DREAM Act application or a FAFSA and you get that done by March 2nd, then Cal Grant eligibility, there's 3 types right now. I will say there is a lot of reform with the pandemic and with more focus on student need. You guys are, your parent, you've got a senior year to go through and then you'll have in college. So you may see while your students are in college, some state level reforms where they kind of change up the Cal Grants to, if in any case, it should be coming out better for students. And even at the federal level, changes in the FAFSA application to try to simplify it or the way it's calculated. So kind of going off of what the world's like right now in the world of financial aid, but there's a lot of stuff in the horizon with the legislature at the federal and state level. Cal Grants, so currently we have Cal Grant A, Cal Grant B, Cal Grant C. Cal Grant A is available at the 4-year colleges, so the Cal States and the UCs. That Cal Grant A is a great award. That's why I say just get that application done by March 2nd, because that kind of keeps up with the tuition costs. You can see $5,700 at CSU or $12,000 at UC. That kind of helps with the tuition. Students need to be come out of high school with 3.0 GPA. And if the student does go to community college first, they can put that Cal Grant A award on hold, so to speak, so that when they do transfer to a 4-year, they can then resume to receive that grant starting their junior year when they transfer to a 4-year college. Cal Grant B is what we is available at the 4-year colleges as well as a supplement to the Cal Grant A, and it's also available to students attending community college. So currently $1,600 a year available in Cal Grant B. There's also the governor a couple years ago for parents with, if you're a college student and have your own dependent child, so if you're a single parent or maybe you're already married and have children or something like that, they even will add to that award a few extra thousand a year onto that for students with dependent children. So that's a boost on top of the Cal Grants. And then Cal Grant C is available for students who are going to vocational programs. So if you're going to like a private college or something that has welding or nursing or something like that, you can receive up to $2,400. If you're attending a community college, the limit is about just under $1,100 to cover for books for community college students taking vocational programs. The Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan is something through the University of California system. So like the UC Davis, the UC Merced, as you're applying there. And when you fill out the FAFSA, they'll look at that. And if for families with incomes of less than 80,000, then they will cover the tuition and fees for students attending the UC with the Blue and Gold Plan. The Middle Class Scholarship, that was a new grant that came out during Governor Jerry Brown's time in office. That was kind of designed to try to help those families in the middle. You know, you don't quite make enough to qualify, or you make a little bit too much to qualify for the financial aid grants and awards, but you don't, you know, but you're not quite making enough money to make paying for college really easy. So for families who earn up to $184,000 a year, they kind of have a sliding scale percentage to where they could help a little bit with tuition, to where you see it maxes out around $5,000, and for a CSU, it kind of helps $2,200 or so. Based on the income for families up to $184,000 annual income. Like I talked about, the undocumented students who fill out the DREAM Act application, they're eligible for the Cal Grants. You know, since they're not eligible for federal awards and they would not be eligible for the direct loans in the federal system, there are state loans for our Dreamer students who can borrow, but it's for CSU and UC system, 4-year college system only. These are not available at the community college level. Something that is available at the community college level that is not at the 4-year colleges is the California College Promise Grant. So if you fill out a FAFSA application and you meet the eligibility criteria, that waives the $46 enrollment fee. So in a community college, each 3-unit class, it's $46 per unit. So multiply that by 3, that's what the class would cost. So a full-time student taking 15-unit semester at $46 a unit would be paying $690 a semester. That fee waiver would waive that $690 for however many units they're attending. So again, at COS as an example, about 10,000 students qualify for the fee waiver, or about 2/3 our population. And yes, I think that covers that. But again, filling out the FAFSA or DREAM Act application, and we even have a paper application for this because this is funded through the community college system and not through the state system. Something else that popped up a couple years ago, I think it was Assembly Bill 19, 2017 or 2018. That's when you heard in the news, was that free 2 years community college for everybody, so to speak. Again, the bills passed, the politicians delivered in the newspapers, delivered a little bit differently than the way it was written. But basically, it does set up so you fill out that FAFSA application, and maybe your family doesn't have high income, or you make too much money, and you're not eligible for any of the grants, the financial aid grants. Then we, for instance, COS, then if the student's enrolling in full time, they do a FAFSA, they're not eligible for grant aid or the Promise grant fee waiver, then we would award them our Promise and waive their fees for their first 2 years attending college. The way this bill was written, every college can kind of come up with their own Promise program. So it's very important if you're maybe attending, we have several community colleges in the area, Fresno City, Reedley, Porterville, West Hills. If you're maybe going to one of them, check their financial aid website to see how their Promise program is set up, to where if they're waiving fees or have something else. But there is that potential. So if you don't qualify for other aid, you can at least have your first couple years covered, and then you can transfer. And I talked about once you receive financial aid, it's important to keep it through academic progress. So the federal government requires that all colleges have a satisfactory academic progress policy. Most colleges require students maintain a 2.0 grade point average to keep their financial aid. And there's also what we call PACE. So at COS, students must complete 67% of their attempted units to stay on PACE or making progress towards graduation. So if a student's taking 12 units and maybe they drop a class or two, they want to make sure maybe if they take 12 units, they complete 9 units so they're still at like 75% or something like that. If you're dropping or failing too many classes and your PACE drops below the requirement, then you could lose your financial aid. Or if your GPA drops below 2.0, you could lose the financial aid until you get back into good standing. I looked at the today, UC Merced, Fresno State, their PACE is 70%. So they're a little bit more strict at that level. So again, it's very important when you decide what college you want to go to be aware of their academic progress policy so you stay in good standing with your financial aid. Scholarships, again, is very important. They talked about Fresno State had scholarships. Visalia Unified has its foundation where they do scholarships. College of Sequoias opens up their scholarship applications around October every year, and then they close around the end of November. So again, at the beginning of the year, check with the schools you're interested in, the colleges, where you might want to go to see if they have scholarship available and when those deadlines are for scholarships so that you get them filled out in time. Because again, in the fall, you're doing scholarship applications for a whole school year away the next following year. And so you may be thinking, oh, scholarships, but the deadline's passed. So always be aware, especially the counselors at Visalia Unified are great about getting information out to the students. Just stay in touch with those kind of information we're putting out there so you don't miss any opportunities. And I know I've tried to whirlwind through this. And again, this information on our COS website. I have here financial aid, College Sequoias, or cos.edu. Click on financial aid. I have a little bit, again, this presentation is recorded for people to watch. Paige will cover Visalia Unified on her videos. I think they have the same financial aid videos that we've done, recorded for them, FAFSA videos, lots of resources to help you out. So as I've talked fast and hit you with a lot of information tonight, not to worry, you're probably gonna get to hear it a few more times as we roll into the fall, and there's lots of resources to help you take a little bit more time to research. I've included Federal Student Aid is a great website, studentaid.gov, talks about FAFSA student loans, what to expect there. The California Student Aid Commission, or what we call CSAC, with those Cal grants, they have their web page that provides the different types of information. So those are some places you might want to start looking. And then as you decide what colleges you want to enter, when your child decides where they want to go, research the financial aid website at that college. Like I said, make sure you know about their satisfactory academic policies, what kind of forms they have, things to help you out that way. And then also talk to the colleges. Hey, we're kind of close. We're kind of deciding. We're not sure if we have enough financial aid. Do you have on-campus jobs? Are there other ways students could apply for scholarships? Do you have things, if they have good grades, do you give them a grant? So it never hurts to talk to those colleges and ask once you kind of know which direction you're going in. And I think.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate all the help. And like our Fresno State and UC reps told us earlier, each of these departments that have talked tonight, COS's financial aid, the UC system, the CSU system, they will all have representatives that will be visiting your students' campuses this fall to help out with application workshops. So don't worry that you're going to have to do it alone. There'll be someone that can guide you through the whole way. David, Madison, thank you so much for being here tonight. Really appreciate your information and your help. And we'll catch you later.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have one more presentation tonight, and that is from me. Let me get on the right page and we'll get started here. Okay, so let's get down to the nitty-gritty. One thing is, please continue to put your questions in the Q&A. It's just me giving the presentation, so I can't type in the Q&A answers. So when I get to the end, I will pull up the Q&A and make sure I go through all your questions with you and give you a live response to that. So next year's gonna be busy, it's gonna be crazy. keeping organized will be your key to sanity. So I really suggest that you either get a binder or an accordion file to keep everything in. Put it, organize it so that you have one for every college, a slot for every college that they're applying to, plus their financial aid, plus also put a slot in there for their resume, an unofficial transcript, and their fee waivers so that they can keep all the paperwork that comes their way organized. As they apply to each college, they're going to have to create an account with that college for their email and communication back and forth. So you're going to want to print out that information, put it in the accordion file. As you're going through your financial aid, you're going to want to have a place to put all the paperwork as well. We did this with our oldest child. I want to say her accordion file weighed a good 2 pounds when we were done. So yeah, rather than papers flying everywhere, I would say get some kind of system set up in the beginning to organize it. This is the timeline of what the senior year is going to look like. Later tonight, I'm going to show you our website for Visalia Unified. This timeline is on our website. So you'll be able to go to our website and access this. So right now, at the beginning of the junior year, or I'm sorry, end of the junior year, we usually recommend starting your SATs or ACTs if the college that you're going to is going to require it. As you heard from the UCs, they're not going to require them next year, nor are the CSUs. The private colleges, I expect some of them will still require it for next year. You can always go online, look at the admissions phone number for the college that you want to apply to. Maybe you're putting something at Stanford or USC, and see if they're going to require the SATs for next year. Right now, Visalia, we don't have any testing locations open yet. My hope is by August that will change. I know there are some areas that are starting to open up testing. If you go to thecollegeboard.com, and I have a link for you that I can show you later to go to College Board. When you register for the SATs, it'll show you what testing locations are open and where they're located. Before this summer, if your child is applying to a UC, I would start the personal insight questions. These you can work on at home. Again, I will show you a link tonight where you can go and see what those questions are. There are 8 questions. They choose 4. Summer is a great time to start building on that. A resume. Your student can start constructing a resume this summer. This will help out for 2 different reasons. One, when you are applying for scholarships, it's something that you can give with your scholarships as well. You'll have your information there easy to access when you fill out the applications. 2, if you're applying to a private college and you need letters of recommendation from your teacher, this is a great way to be able to give your teacher information to be able to access and give you more in-depth letter of recommendation. Take a sip of water before we go on. All the wonderful blossoms are getting to me. Okay, August. The UC application and the common application both open up in August. They cannot be submitted until later on, but you can start working on them. Like I said earlier, we want kids to go through californiacolleges.edu. I'll show that to you in a few minutes, and launch their applications from there. So come August, your student can start working away. That way they don't feel like they have to rush it at the end. September, keep working on those SATs if your child's going to a school that requires them. October, that's when the Cal State, the CSU applications open. They open on October 1st, and they are due no later than November 30th. The UC applications, their window opens November 1st and closes November 30th. For both of these, I highly recommend that you submit them early. Do not wait till the night before they're due to submit. There have been 2 years now where their system has crashed at the very end because all the students are trying to submit at once. The first time it happened, the stance that the UC took was you should have submitted earlier, too bad, so sad. The second time it happened, they were a little more gracious about it. So just don't risk it. Submit a couple days early, not a couple weeks early. November to February. Private college application due dates vary. And so you're going to have to look up each of the due dates on their website for your student. So sometimes, for example, USC. USC has 2 or 3 different due dates. One due date is fairly early, middle of November, if you want to be considered for scholarships. One is early admission, and then one is their regular due date. So make sure that you're aware of the due dates and you have those on the calendar. The FAFSA or the DREAM Act are both due by March 2nd. If you want to be considered for the Cal Grant, you cannot submit it later than that. The federal grants, yes, you can submit it after March 2nd. For the Cal Grant, you have to have it in by March 2nd. Admissions letters saying that, hey, congratulations, you got in. It's usually now email. Usually by the end of March, you will hear from all the colleges. The CSUs sometimes start trickling in beginning December, January. The UCs are in March. A couple of the private colleges are as late as the first week of April. But by April, you're going to know who accepted you. At that point, they will also send financial aid packages out to you. So you'll be able to compare what colleges are offering you scholarships, grants, work study, and you can compare those deals. By May, on May 1st, that is the national reply date. By this time, you need to notify the college, yes, I will be coming to your university. And by the way, here's my deposit for my housing. If you are receiving financial aid or waivers, they will work with you on how to submit that deposit. If you are put on a wait list, wait lists are active usually until August 1st. After that, it's a done deal. If you do get an offer of admission, when you are on the wait list, it should be a written letter or through electronic communication. You will not receive a phone call. You will receive something in writing. Seniors need to make sure that they keep their grades up throughout the senior year. Sometimes they get that senioritis, especially spring, and say, hey, I've gotten into my favorite college. I don't need to worry about the application or my grades anymore. Only to find that if they get a D or an F, some colleges will actually rescind their admission. So, for example, maybe they're finishing up their English requirement and they get an F in it. There might be a good chance that the UC will contact you and say you are no longer accepted to our university. So just let your senior know that grades do still count in the senior year. In June, you need to make sure that you order an official transcript from your high school, and if you took COS classes from COS, to be sent to the college or university that you will be attending. Okay, so private colleges. Most private colleges use what's called the Common Application. The Common Application, basically, you go to the website. I also have on our website the link to the Common Application plus videos on how to fill out the Common Application. A lot of parents will say that they don't want their child to apply to a private university because of the cost. And yes, you're right. Private universities can be outrageous. They can vary from $45,000 a year up to $75,000 a year for tuition and housing. However, a lot of them have great support from alumni, which helps in donations and helps them give more grants and waivers to students. So if you especially are in that zone where maybe you don't qualify for a lot of financial aid, but costs are very tight to pay for college, you might find that some private universities will actually give you a grant or scholarship that will make up the difference and bring the price down to what a UC or CSU will cost. So what I advise students is apply everywhere you feel that you want to go. Don't get your heart set on one particular school until you hear from the school and see what their financial aid package offers you. So don't rule it out just on cost until you see what they can come up with and offer you. Common applications, private colleges often require letters of recommendation from your teachers. On the common application, you will submit the name of the teachers and their email addresses. The common application will email that teacher asking for the letter of recommendation. Make sure that you notify the teacher before that goes out and not surprise them. Also, please don't wait till the last minute to ask your teacher for a letter of recommendation. If you give them more time, the letter is going to probably be a much nicer, richer, more in-depth perspective of who you are as a student. Some private colleges will, depending on the major, maybe need additional information like a portfolio, auditions, resume, or writing samples. So perhaps you're applying to a college that's an art institute. They'll probably want to see examples of your art. UCLA drama, you're going to go in for an audition. So make sure that you go to the website for the colleges that you're applying, look at their majors, and make sure if there's any additional requirements. Profile, I will show you where I have the link to that. If you're applying to a private college, you're going to fill out the FAFSA financial aid, and you're going to, in addition, fill out the profile. And this is a more in-depth look at your finances. So your retirement, your housing, everything. It's quite extensive. But this is what they're going to base some of those grants off that I was talking about earlier. So sometimes the grants can be full scholarships, sometimes they can be $20,000 a year. So it's worth submitting all this for consideration. Again, just be aware of deadlines. The common application has essays as well, like the UC does. And let me stop for a moment. This PowerPoint will be on our website. I will show you that this evening. So all these links, you'll be able to go through my PowerPoint and click on the links. I also have an additional spot where you can find the links as well. But the prompts for the common application have already been posted for your incoming seniors. So again, they can work on them this summer and start getting a good start on those essays. With private colleges, you sometimes have early decision or early action, and it's really important to know the difference between the two. Early decision is binding, early action is not binding. So usually with both of them, you're applying early, and you're going to be notified early whether you got in or not, usually prior to Christmas break, winter break. If you apply to a college that's early decision, and they answer back saying, yes, we accept you, come to our university. Basically, by doing an early decision, you're committing that if they accept you, you will notify all the other colleges that you're not coming, that you are going to their college. Early action will also notify you early that you're accepted, but it's non-binding. That means you get to wait and see what other colleges accept you. That helps in negotiating power. So if you have early action and you're accepted, and you also get an offer from another school, and their financial aid package or scholarship package is much better than the early action school, you can now go back and say, look, this other school is offering me this. Are you able to meet those same financial help and grants or work study? And you can negotiate back and forth. If you're early decision, that power is taken away from you. You've already told them that you're dropping all the other colleges. So you can't go and say, well, this other college offered me this better deal. They're going to say you made a binding decision or binding agreement with us. So we're not going to consider what those other colleges are offering you. So just be aware of the difference between early decision and early action. So if you're asking teachers for letters of recommendation, either for a private college or sometimes scholarships will require them, ask the teacher early, compose a letter thanking them for their time, explain that the common application will send them an email asking for the letter of recommendation, give them a copy of your resume. I would also give them a copy of your essays because it may give them some more insight than they already know about you. Also give them your unofficial high school transcript. Also let teachers know what your end goal is, what you think you're going to major in, think what you'd like to do at that university so that they can include that as well. Like I said before, the more time that you give teachers to compose the letter, the better the letter is going to be. When I was at school site as a counselor, I had students approach me a day before asking for letters of recommendation, and I can tell you it wasn't my best work. So make sure that you give them plenty of time to get that together for you. In your resume, include the information, your name, address, phone number, of course, what you think you're going to major in, what your career plans are, maybe your SAT, ACT scores if you've taken it, summer programs, your co-curriculars, clubs, sports, were you a varsity player all 4 years? They need to know that. Your volunteer work, your extracurricular activities, what hobbies do you have? So include all of this, again, to the people that you're going to have letters of recommendation for. Also, when you're applying for scholarships, this is nice to include with your scholarship applications. Okay, so help is here. Your counselors and learning directors are definitely here to help you out. They will have application workshops for the UCs, for the CSUs, COS, FAFSA, and DREAM Act. So basically, senior year, it's really important that you subscribe to the daily bulletin at your high school, because they're going to announce in the daily bulletin when to sign up for these activities. If you don't get the bulletin, you're not going to have this information in front of you and miss those opportunities. So with your counselors, just like your family doctor doesn't call you and say, "Oh, how are you feeling today? You know, do you have a scratchy throat? Are you doing okay?" You call your doctor and you make the appointment, say, "I've got an issue, I need to come in." Same thing with counselors and learning directors. They're absolutely there to help you, but you need to call them or make an appointment and let them know that you need that time from them. And they're willing to meet with you as often as you want, but they can't read your mind. So please communicate with them and let them know when and where you need that help. I'm going to really quick show you our website. So if you go to the Visalia Unified homepage and go under either students or for parents, we have college and career readiness on here under students and parents. You click on that. You'll see our icon there. You click on that. And then you have two options. You can either go explore our CTE and our Link Learning Academies, or you can continue on with college and career. So I just put this up today. So when you get to this page, it says class of 2022. You click on that, and this page is for all of our seniors. First of all, it goes through what California colleges it is. You all have an account using your USD email. If you need to reset your password, just click on this little orange box up here and it'll tell you how to change your password. I have linked the videos on how to launch your community college application, your CSU Cal State application, your UC application, and your financial aid FAFSA application. So make sure that you look at those and launch from California colleges. So this is last year's presentation, just like we did for this year. I will edit tonight's video and I will have this new video up and going by the end of the week. I will also have this PowerPoint up as well, so you can access that and the links within the PowerPoint. If you go further down, we have lots of great information for you. We have a scholarship website here. So these are search engines for scholarships. You can go on there and search and find the scholarships that actually apply to you. Also note that in your senior year, and again, this comes back to your daily bulletin, in the daily bulletin, they will announce in fall semester, please pick up the local scholarship application and apply. It's online for your high school. All of our high schools do it. This puts you in the running for the local scholarships from our local service organizations like Kiwanis, Rotary, etc. So make sure your students submit for that, and that's usually due probably about the second week of December. On top of it, check out the website for the colleges you're applying to and put in the applications for their scholarships. COS also offers scholarships. Make sure you fill out their application. And then again, just start searching through and see which ones apply for you. Senior year, you might give some advertisements saying we're a scholarship organization and we'll do the search for you. And usually they charge money. I'm very wary of anyone that's charging money to do the search for you. So I would approach this with caution. Over here, the road sign, if you click on that, we have links to everything that we talked about today. So the personal insight questions, the common application questions, the COS applications, ACT, SAT registration. And we also have some search engines down here. If you want to look at what colleges might have your majors, you can go to these websites and search. So the University of California box here, if you click on that and go to that, we have videos posted on how to complete the UC application. The UC Santa Barbara made a series of videos that last about 2-3 minutes each, going through each section of the UC application. You go back, the CSU, same thing. They've also produced a video on filling out the application. So if for some reason you miss one of our application workshops, make sure to go to our videos here to help you through. FAFSA DREAM Act, if you click on that, COS has produced videos on how to complete the FAFSA. Again, they're in 2 or 3 minute increments, and you can go through and access those. COS also did videos on how to complete their application. And then also we have the common application. So you go to their website, and if you go down to the bottom, they have videos also on how to complete their application. At the bottom of our website here, we have the calendar of events for your senior year that we went through at the beginning of this presentation. So when things are due, the links to each of those applications, and you can go on there and it'll pull you all the way through to the end of your senior year. So please definitely access that. So right now I'm going to go ahead and open it up to your questions. Take a look. So we have one question. Can any student transfer to a UC or CSU of choice, or is it competitive application process like incoming freshmen must go through? So, okay, so if your student decides to go to COS first and then apply to a UC or CSU, how competitive is it? Actually, the numbers increase on admission when you're a transfer student. They know that at the CSUs and UCs that you do not have anywhere else to go after the community college, so they do let greater numbers of transfer students in. When you get to COS, you'll want to sit down with the counselor and go over the IGETC. This is basically the plan for the UC, and also with one additional course, it meets the CSU requirements for the general education. So it basically maps out what courses you need to take freshman and sophomore year at COS to meet the GE pattern and transfer to a four-year college. The counselors at COS can also advise you. There are some majors that you're going to want to take additional classes or additional pathway outside the IGETC. So if you're a science major, engineering major, architecture major, there may be some additional guidance and pathways that you need to follow. The UC system also has what's called the TAG program. Transfer Admission Guarantee is what it's called. It's applicable to, believe almost all of the UCs except for Berkeley, UCLA, and San Diego. And so basically it's this agreement that between you, the CSU, I'm sorry, you, the COS, and the UC, that you will complete a certain course pathway, maintain a certain GPA. You can designate the one college that you want the guaranteed admission. And as long as you meet all that criteria, including the GPA, you are guaranteed a place at that college. So it's a great program to really look into. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Where can we find the A to G list? Great question. So let me share the screen again one moment. So the best way and the easiest way is just go A to G list, and you'll pull up the UC A to G course list. You can put the name of your high school. Find the right Redwood High School. Click on that. Click on course list. And it'll list each course at Redwood or El Diamante or Golden West, whichever school that you put in there, that meets in each area. So this is area A and the courses that meet that requirement. Area B, area C, and so on. So it's real easy to find. Okay, next question. Do you recommend juniors take the CASP test? Are there advantages or disadvantages when applying to college? I know that right now it will help with English math placement for the CSU. So I would say there's more advantage in taking the CASP than disadvantage. So I hope that helps. Any other questions for this evening? Wait a second here. Okay, I'm not seeing anything else pop up at the moment. Oh, as soon as I said that. Where do I find what colleges are asking for? My son's about to be a senior and I want to make sure he took the right classes. Okay, so if he has his California colleges.edu account, I would go to that. And there's actually a place on it that will show you exactly what areas in the A to G that he has met. So I would log on that. I would also advise you to reach out to their school counselor or learning director to review the transcript with you and make sure that he's on course for the colleges that you want to apply to. If I fail math, does that mean I did not complete the A to G? Not necessarily. So the UCs require, and the CSUs, 3 years of math. You must go through integrated math 3. Each semester must be C or better. There are some ways that the higher math can verify the lower math. So if you're integrating math 3 and you've passed that, you should be good to go. Again, I would talk to your counselor and learning director to double check that for you. Program close. A strong program. Okay. Okay. Well, the strong. So the courses in the strong, the electives are A to G approved, I believe, for the G requirement. So those courses will be counted into your GPA for the UC and CSU system. I think it makes you look like a committed student in that you have a pathway that you've given time to. I think that speaks highly of you in the application process. But quite honestly, the truth is there is no secret perfect way to get into university. You can do everything right and get in. You can do everything right and maybe not get in. It's going to depend on how many other kids applied that year, how many spots they have available. So you're completing the A to G requirements so that you can compete in the application process. And then from there, it really can vary year to year what they're looking for. Your essays are going to be really important for the UCs and for the private colleges because you're competing with a lot of students that look just like you. They've taken the honors courses, they have high GPAs, they've taken AP courses, they've taken classes over at their community colleges. So, trying to think where I'm going with this. It's been a long day already. Oh yeah, it's night. The essays help set you apart from the other students. That was my point. Basically, when your transcript looks very similar to everyone else's transcript, your essay is going to tell the college what's unique about you, what you're going to bring to that college that's going to stand out different from other students. And above all, be genuine, be yourself. Don't feel like you have to put on an essay something that you're not. Just know to apply broad. I would recommend applying 6 to 8 colleges and a variety of competitive level. So I would do a few CSUs, a few UCs, maybe some privates that you're looking to, but make sure that you hit all levels and so that you have choices at the end. This year for the UC system was highly competitive. They had more applicants than they have ever had before, which was surprising considering the pandemic. Whether that trend will continue, it seems to have over the last couple of years. Also know that COS is a great place to start out. You can get your GE courses done there and then transfer as a junior and have 2 years under your belt and have that experience at COS where you have a smaller ratio of teacher to student. So there's more than one way to get to the end goal. Just don't feel that, try not to be rigid that you have to go to one particular school. Find the school that fits you, fits your needs, that you're going to be comfortable at, and that you're going to want to get involved in and be successful. So yeah, there's just no crystal ball to say, do exactly this and you'll get in. Just do the best of who you are and what you're about, and go forward from that. Okay, another question. Is there a limit to the amount of scholarships a family can receive? No, there is not a limit. Although I have seen in a few cases where a student qualifies for financial aid and then receives a lot of scholarships in a large amount. And when they receive that, it actually takes away some of their financial aid, which they don't tell you. So just know that sometimes that happens and to be aware of it. But yeah, you're not limited in how many scholarships you could receive. Great question. Are there any final questions before we call it an evening? Okay, well, thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you found this helpful. I wish you all the luck in your applications, and please keep tapping into our website for the resources, and make sure that you make appointments with your counselor learning director if you need any additional help. And good luck to all of you. Have a good evening.